1 year has passed since former President Joe Biden stunned the nation by suspending his re-election bid, a decision that ended his decades-long political career and left the Democratic Party grappling with uncertainty. Biden's dramatic exit from the race came just days after Donald Trump accepted the Republican nomination, following weeks of mounting pressure from fellow Democrats. The calls for Biden to step aside intensified after his shaky performance in the June 2024 presidential debate, when his halting delivery and awkward responses alarmed both lawmakers and party donors. Despite his attempts to reassure nervous Democratic leaders and voters, meeting with governors, congressional leaders, and caucuses, concerns escalated about his age, memory, and ability to credibly lead the ticket. Eventually, the party's internal divisions became unmanageable, and Biden ended his campaign, swiftly endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris as his chosen successor. However, Harris struggled to unify the party and ultimately lost to Trump in a resounding landslide, with Republicans sweeping all swing states and securing both the Electoral College and popular vote. The Democratic Party, still reeling from the impact of both Biden's withdrawal and the electoral defeat, faces a challenging path forward. Internal strife has persisted, evidenced by public disagreements among party officials and serious questions about future leadership. Fundraising numbers further reflect this turmoil. In June, Republicans nearly doubled the Democrats' fundraising, bringing in $16.2 million, compared to $8.6 million for the Democrats. The Republican National Committee now holds a war chest of nearly $81 million, dwarfing the DNC's $15 million. Meanwhile, leading Republicans emphasize party unity and capitalize on Democratic divisions, with swing district Republican candidates outraising vulnerable Democrats by significant margins. Republican dominance in fundraising has been matched by a hectic legislative environment in Washington. With control of both the House and Senate hanging on razor-thin margins, congressional Republicans are racing against a fast-approaching September 30th deadline to pass 12 appropriations bills and avoid a partial government shutdown. The process is complicated by deep partisanship, pressure from President Trump to cut $163 billion from non-defense government spending, and the ongoing challenge of securing bipartisan support given the Senate's 60-vote filibuster threshold. House and Senate Republican leaders differ over the extent of spending cuts, raising the likelihood of a standoff between chambers. In recent weeks, the House passed its $832 billion defense spending bill, but little progress has been made on the remaining appropriations, and leaders on both sides are openly discussing the possibility of a short-term continuing resolution to keep the government funded. The threat of a shutdown looms, but some GOP leaders suggest that traditional partisan standoffs eventually give way to compromise. Amid the legislative uncertainty, the budgetary outlook for the next decade has taken center stage after President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act on July 4th, a sweeping measure central to his second-term agenda. The Congressional Budget Office now projects that the bill will increase the federal deficit by $3.4 trillion over 10 years. While the bill is expected to decrease spending by $1.1 trillion, the CBO notes that it will reduce federal revenues by $4.5 trillion, one of the most significant impacts on long-term fiscal policy in recent memory. The further upward revision of the deficit estimate followed amendments added in the Senate, raising concerns among deficit hawks and adding to the heated debate over fiscal responsibility. Transparency and government accountability have also been thrust back into the spotlight. This week, a federal judge ruled that the Trump administration's Office of Management and Budget broke the law when it removed a public funding tracking database required by Congress. The court found that taking down the database violated federal law, mandating that government funding decisions be made publicly available within 2 business days. The judge ordered the immediate restoration of the website, rejecting the White House argument that public disclosure posed a security risk and underscoring Congress's constitutional authority to inform the public about federal spending decisions. Meanwhile, investigations continue into the chaotic final months of the Biden presidency. New audio leaks from Biden's interview with former special counsel Robert Hur captured the former president struggling with key biographical details, fueling ongoing probes by Congress into his mental and physical health. The use of the autopen, a machine used for signing official documents, is under scrutiny as lawmakers seek to determine whether sensitive documents, pardons, and other instruments were duly authorized. Notably, Biden granted a record number of pardons and commutations during his last weeks in office, including controversial preemptive pardons for family members and senior officials. Ultimately, the past year has seen a seismic shift in the American political landscape. Republicans have harnessed momentum from their electoral wins to drive a robust fundraising effort, often doubling their Democratic counterparts and framing Democrats as divided and adrift. Democrat fundraising officials, for their part, point to record grassroots participation but acknowledge the need to regain focus and unity. As Congress faces daunting budget deadlines against a tense backdrop of party infighting, shifting leadership, and frayed bipartisan cooperation, much remains uncertain for both parties. The aftermath of Biden's withdrawal continues to reverberate, shaping not only immediate electoral realities, but also the broader contest over the future direction of the nation's politics and governance.